Charring a barrel? Oh, this'll work. We have other options.
Come all you moonshiners if you want to hear about the kind of booze that they serve around here.
Well, welcome back to Barley and Hops. I'm George. Yes, the channel that dares to unlock the mysteries of home distilling. We're so glad that you're with us again today. Now, we're going to work on it. This is really simple. Believe it, I've done this several times, and I figured this was one of those times I needed to get it done because I've got some barrels that need this. So I thought I would share this with you as we do this. And that's recharring a barrel. And there are a lot of questions that we have to answer and a lot of explanation, but it's rather straightforward and relatively simple. Now, some quick updates. We do have, yes, we have achieved that 100,000 subscriber level, and just like 3 days ago, I had to do a chat with YouTube because they were delinquent in validating and verifying the channel. They have done so, sent me the code. Of course, that's already been submitted, so we are waiting patiently on our silver play button to arrive, and that is your reward and award, and we will open that here on a video in the near future as it arrives. So I'm so excited and so thankful to all of you who have patronized this channel. Now, and in addition, this was just like last night, Stillet, our good friends down in New Zealand, this is Jesse, they just achieved 100,000 subscribers as well. So please, please reach out and send him a congratulations as well, because that is I like to consider that our sister channel. No one else that I'm aware of does more, except for maybe Beard and Board. There's his logo. To enhance and perpetuate this hobby that we call distilling. So, Jesse, good on you, and congratulations. For those of you who haven't subscribed yet, please do so. And also subscribe to Stillet and to Beard and Board for all the latest, greatest information you could possibly find. And guess what? Yes, it's all free. So, please help us, help you, help others. Now, on to, I've got these 3 barrels sitting here, and in order, this is a 3 liter, 5 liter, 10 liter. All right, and we need to understand first that, what barrels are sized by how much they displace, not exactly how much they hold. Yes, you'd be confused about that. Someone will take a 3 liter barrel, they'll purchase one, and then they'll try to put 3 liters in it, and it won't fit. A barrel is designed and measured based on how much space they displace. Not how much it holds. So don't let your volumes go crazy in your mind. You'll have less than 3 liters in here, less than 5 liters, and less than 10 liters. But that's just a given. That's just how they're sized. Okay? This comes back from a long, long time ago with ships and storage, and it's just the way it's done. All right? Now, I've recharred this barrel several times, and my advice, take it for what it's worth. You can do whatever you want. I've recharred this 3 times, and this is just about on its last leg. I probably will not use this one, but I've got it opened already, and I just wanted to show you that. See, that one's already open, and you'll see how dark the char is on the inside. This is the lid, and of course the bands that come from the outside. And we're going to show you exactly how to get to that here. Now, the basic ingredients or the basic items that you're going to probably need if you want to do this the way I do it are the following, okay? 1 roll of black electrical tape. And the reason I use black electrical tape, and of course you could use other things, but I use black electrical tape because it does go on secure, and it's quite flexible. So it has a certain amount of give and stretch in it without tearing or coming off. That comes in handy. I've got an unscented candle. This is a tea light. These are critical and really, really helpful when you start to put this thing back together, because you can pre-seal some of those areas that you know are going to probably leak anyway. As we know, once we get one of these, you have to soak it in order for those staves to expand and seal up. Well, you can help that process along with a little bit of candle wax. But make sure you use unscented candle wax. You don't want any interaction with any of your spirits that are inside your barrels, and the unscented candle wax will not interact with the alcohol. Okay, I've got 2 wire brushes, and of course, we know we already have the acetylene torch if we need it, but we don't, of course. I've got a MAP gas burner. And that's really, really high heat for those of you who understand the difference between that and just regular propane, which works just as well. The key is you need a good heat source in order to just char the wood. You don't want to burn through it, you just want to char the wood. So let's get right at it, and I'll show you how I actually accomplish this in just a few simple steps. The first thing we want to do is we want to make sure, now I'm going to set this big 10-liter barrel aside because I'm going to do that one next, but I'm going to concentrate on my 5-liter barrel. Be right back. So one of the first things I'm going to do is make sure that this thing actually stays together as long as, well, as easily as possible, because otherwise you need a couple of extra hands to hold things together, because once it falls apart completely, it's not impossible, but it's very difficult to get it back together correctly. So what I'll do is I'm going to turn this on its side here and remove one of the rings. Now you'll notice these rings will start to get loose as your barrel dries, and that's because it shrinks. And as it shrinks, it releases that tension on the bands. So normally 1 or 2 of the bands, and maybe even all of them, will be loose. So remove one of the bands, and then just run a piece of black electrical tape, about 1.5 inches or so from the bottom of the barrel. And you'll see as I do this, and once we get a little bit further in, you'll see exactly why I do this. Now, and as I put this on here, you know, I had a phone call the other day, and this is amazing, you know, so somebody called, and they ask a question, and, you know, I offer a response, and this was all about, believe it or not, it was about pH. And really the gist of it was, well, you know, I measured my pH, I adjusted it, and then after about 4 or 5 days, it dropped, it went really, really low, and then my fermentation stopped, stuck fermentation. And so I readjusted the pH, and of course I responded with, please, once you adjust the pH at the very beginning, leave it alone. Just leave it alone. It will do that on its own, and it's supposed to. Your problem is not the pH. They actually said, yeah, but I don't want to do it that way. I went, okay. Then, you know, you're not helping yourself. He goes, no, I do it like this. And then, of course, they explained through it. And I was like, well, you're really not helping matters much, because now you're making it really, really acidic, and you're making an inhospitable environment, which is probably the lack of water, because he had a really, really high gravity. So, and you're just making matters worse. Yeah, but I don't want to do it like that. I went, okay. Of course, the conversation ended. I need a razor. There. So I guess the moral story is, if you call and ask for advice, or you ask a question and I give you an answer, if you don't want to do it that way, I'm fine with that. But please, let's not debate that at that point, because all I can do is throw my hands up and go, okay. Okay. You know, I wish you the best. Now you'll notice, okay, there's the fill hole. You'll notice that when I did that, I oriented this so that the spout's at the very top. And there's a reason for that. And that is so that once you remove the remainder bands, you can put your finger in here, or some sort of device, you know, maybe a screwdriver or something, and you can grab it and you can lift that lid up, because that lid doesn't come out real easy. It comes out relatively easy, but you've got to have a way to grab it. All right, now that I've got that tape around the bottom, I can drop off the remainder of that ring and then start to pull off the other rings. And if they get stuck, then all it takes is just a screwdriver and a hammer and tap it until it releases. There we go. And your bands will come off. Now, you'll notice on here this darkness. And if I rub my finger across it, let me do that. You'll notice how black my fingers get. Well, that's a natural occurrence, and it happens normally. All right, we did a video a couple of years ago on whiskey fungus, and this is one of those phenomenons that you'll never overcome. It's just there. All right, it happens. You'll find it around bonded warehouses. You'll find it around distilleries. As a matter of fact, check this out. This is what it looks like. Now, there are full communities that have this black stuff. It's called whiskey fungus. It's a black fungus that grows on the outside of the buildings or on your car, on the trees, anywhere. And it's usually downwind of a distillery, a bonded warehouse, and in some cases, even a bakery. What that really is the alcohol that evaporates. The evaporated alcohol in the atmosphere starts to settle. It drops because it's heavy. And as it drops and the prevailing winds blow it, they blow it against, and it sticks to the side of structures. Now, if the conditions are right and there's enough humidity, it's a sac fungus that starts to grow, and it's black. Matter of fact, it's unsightly, but it's absolutely harmless. But it's just unsightly. So there are some communities that suffer from this because of their location. As a matter of fact, I had to write it down. The proper name for that fungus is Baldwinia compniescens. For those of you who care. Now, you'll see this on my stand where I've got this black stain here where it's dripped a little bit, and then that evaporated, and that evaporated alcohol is leached into the wood, and then of course with a proper humidity and proper environment it starts to grow. Sometimes you'll even find on the bottom of your barrel, right there on the table, you'll find a small puddle, and it'll be black, and you'll run your finger through it like a syrup. That's whiskey fungus. Please don't worry about it. It's not harmful. All right, the other thing I need, see, can I put that in there? No. What I'm going to need is, I got just a pair of needle nose pliers. Now, you'll start to pull these staves out, and you'll notice that as you pull these staves out, it's a little, there you go, it's a little tight because they are fitted to this cap. And once you get around here, and you know what, I'm going to keep working on this, and I'll be right back. All right, here we go. I've got them all. Now, this is where a couple of extra hands would have come in handy. But if you're able to, so you just work those staves out without pulling them off. And you'll see the elasticity in that tape allows you to bend those back a little bit without them coming unhinged. Oops. It happens. That's going to make that lid come out just a whole lot easier. There. Now that's not a problem. I'll just glue that right back together and make that one big round thing. Don't worry about it. It'll be perfectly okay. Now, one of the things that you'll notice when you open your barrel is, I've got these extra shards that. Now, see, this barrel has been sitting empty for probably 2 or 3 months. They don't stay full around here that long. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this wire brush and I want to brush out everything from the inside because, and you'll see that if you'll notice down in there, you can see that bottom is not that toasted. So this comes as a medium toasted barrel, but there's plenty of wood left to continue to toast again. And that's why we rechar them, and we rechar them because, oh yeah, see, what I'm doing now is I'm taking out the old char, and I'm not going to remove all of it, but I'm going to remove the char because the char doesn't go bad. But what does happen is you'll get some residue that'll sit there. Oh, yeah. And what it'll do is it'll seal itself from the wood and not permit that alcohol to work its way towards the wood and thereby extracting all those flavors and that really warm, rich color that you're looking for. All right, I'm gonna continue this through, and once I get it done, I'll show it to you. Now you'll see that this, of course, this came apart. These are made by gluing several planks together. So well, now I've got this separated. What I want to do is I want to clean off the residual glue that's here and here. And the first thing I'm going to do is use a razor blade without cutting down any of the wood. I just want to scrape that off. And what that'll do is give me a clean surface in which to re-glue it. Now, after working my way all the way around the inside of this with, now I've got this smaller brush so you can get down into the corners. You'll notice, look at this. This is all of the old char and anything else that was growing in there from just sitting around like that I've been able to remove. And what I will do now is I'm just going to re-char this using First MAP gas. And then I can try to get down into the bottom down in there and char that end, because you know, remember, the end is not, matter of fact, almost not charred at all, as well as the lid that I've got glued back together. Oh yeah, one thing I did forget to mention, you might want to have just a spray bottle laying around just in the event. Yeah, they just spray it in there just a little bit, just so that you're not burning the wood. You want to char it, which means that you're going to ignite the wood a little bit. Just let it char for a while, and then, because if you leave it alone, guess what? Yeah, it'll just burn its way through. That'll last me for about another 4 or 5 runs through it. Yeah, I keep running out of oxygen in there. Well, all right. 1 barrel charred. Let me just make sure that I don't have any. Yeah, it's pretty darn hot in there, but I just want to make sure I don't have any embers that are still burning. And just allow that to, this is a messy job. Just allow that to sit and cool. All right, I've come to the end of the charring, and what I've got here is, I want you to see this. You can see inside the barrel. I've even got a flashlight for you. You can see inside the barrel how heavily I've charred that. Now you'll notice that little bit of that little ring around the bottom. What that was, and it's a preemptive seal. What do I mean by a preemptive seal? Well, what I actually did was, you take a little bit of that wax, you warm this wax up, and then you take it off, you just scrape it off with your finger, you get pieces of it, and then you just form it around the inside ring where the lid attaches, and any cracks that you can find that you know are a little bit large, and then you take your torch, turn that on, there it goes, yeah. Heat that wax up just a little bit, and allow it to seep into your wood fibers. And what that'll do is that'll pre-seal that, so that once you do get this finished and then you soak it, you know that your ends are really sealed. Now the staves themselves are something that you're gonna just have to work your way through. You know that they all leak. You just got to let them soak and spread. So it kind of bleeds the question, you know, well, George, why don't you just glue all the staves together or wax all the staves? Well, you don't want to put that much in between the staves, because you want them in order for them to swell and seal together, you don't want anything in the middle of that that's going to prevent that from happening and cause gaps. You follow me? In the long run, should you have an issue where you've got one leak somewhere and you just can't seem to get it to settle, well, your wax is always a solution at the very end. So I offer that to you, because I've got some barrels that just, unless you put a little bit of wax on one of the staves, it'll just continue to leak. It just won't seal for some reason. But the wax always seems to resolve that. Let's get the top back on, and we'll put the bands back together, and I'll show you that when I'm finished. And I'll also do a preemptive seal around the end, because you'll notice on here, you see that ring that's cut, that edge that's cut right in there? Yeah, right across there. That's where the edge of that cap is going to fit in there. So what we'll do is we'll put a little bit of wax around the outside. We'll heat that and let that wax soak in. Yeah, small ball peen hammer comes in handy in order to make sure you seat that lid. And So I've got the top ring and I've got the other 2 rings just slid on there right now. So what I'll do is, and there's probably, yeah, more than likely there's a tool made for this, but a screwdriver comes in handy. Okay, now that I've got my rings on, you see the barrel's reassembled. I'm going to take that little bit of wax that we talked about. Now watch this as I run it. And all I'm going to do is, it's sort of warm wax right now. And I'm just going to run a little bit of it inside that crack that goes all the way around the outside. That's the joint. And this is what I call that precautionary seal. Because if this thing is going to leak, from experience, it will almost always leak around there because that's the widest joint in the entire barrel. Candle wax is added. You'll see that on there. You'll see what that looks like. All I did was just pushed it all the way in there. Just made it nice and level. All we do now is heat it up just a little bit. And you'll heat it up, and what it'll do is it turns to a liquid, of course. Wax does that. But it'll soak into the wood grain, and especially in that seal that goes around the outside of that top. And then as it dries, there we go, yeah. It will become a preemptory seal, like having a seal. That's the best way I can describe it. All you got to do is pull out a little bit of the excess so it doesn't look like ass. And there's one barrel sealed. It's sealed from the inside and then sealed here on the top on the outside. Now, you have 2 options when it comes to soaking a barrel, okay? This is really straightforward. One is to just place it on your stand inside the sink and then fill it with hot water and then put your plug in it. Because what that will do is that will cause a partial vacuum. And if it does leak, it'll leak really, really slow. And that hot water will start to cause that wood to expand. And then every couple hours check on. All you got to do is open the top and look in and see if there's any water has gone down or you know you've got a leak, and just keep re-adding water, reintroducing water until it stops. And that usually takes anywhere from 12 to 24, maybe 36 hours. It all depends on the severity of your leak. Another option that tends to work out relatively well, I mean, it's the same process, just a little bit different, is to fill it with hot water and then use a bucket and fill the bucket with hot water and then submerge the barrel in there and then place something on top to hold it up underneath, hold it beneath the surface of the water and allow it to swell that way. Both ways work extremely well. I kind of like using the sink method because it kind of gives me a gauge. You know, I can walk by in a couple of hours and look and see how much has leaked out. Plus, you can see it in the sink. But that in almost every case has sealed my barrels. And like I said, last but not least, should you have one that has a leak that you just can't seem to overcome, a little bit of unscented candle wax really, really comes in handy. So, from our shop to your home, we hope you've enjoyed this episode on how to disassemble, secure, rechar, and reassemble a barrel, and then do the preemptive seal so that you have more success when it comes to soaking your barrel. Now, again, how long does this last? Look, I can run like about 5 runs through a barrel before it starts to deplete. And that is, it just quits giving up its goodness. And on a new barrel, 1 good char, maybe twice, is probably your limit. But there comes a point of no return. I'm sorry. But for the cost of the barrels, you can go to Barrels Online. They've got some really good prices on barrels. You may have to wait 3 or 4 weeks for it to arrive. But they produce these and they'll ship them out to you. You can get 3, 5, 10, 20 liter barrels. The larger the barrel, of course, the thicker the stave. Of course, and the smaller the barrel, the thinner the stave. So those don't last quite as long. Now, here's the last but not least, here's the other point of interest when it comes to barrel aging. The big question is, well, how long does it last, and can I leave it in there? I want to make it, and I want to give it to one of my children on their 21st birthday. And that's going to be 10 years from now. We have what's known as the angel's share, okay? And even in a large barrel that's stored in a warehouse and aged, you're going to lose about 20% of the volume inside that barrel over a period of about 7 years. So just like that, in these barrels, you're going to also lose what they call the angel's share. And that angel's share is the evaporated alcohol that leaches out through the wood and just mysteriously evaporates into the atmosphere, which is where the whiskey fungus comes from, oh, by the way. So now you understand where that is, where that comes from, what that is. It's totally harmless, but that is the alcohol that you're going to lose. And in these, you'll lose an equal amount as you would in a large 55-gallon drum. So if your expectation is that you want to age your spirits for 20-some years, then you need to find another method in which to do that, and something that doesn't allow alcohol to leach through it, like glass, which is a good, and of course then you can use oak chips instead of an oak barrel. Now, how long does it take for a barrel to mature? Well, there's a difference. It's called, and the whole issue here is the amount of surface area in contact with the alcohol itself. And in a smaller barrel, you have less alcohol, but you've got a lot of surface area. And as the barrel gets larger, the aging period, the maturation period, starts to extend longer and longer. In a small 3-liter barrel, somewhere around 8 weeks, 9 weeks is mature as you're going to age. In a 5-liter barrel, somewhere around 12 weeks. And I mean, and that's a swag. And a swag is a sophisticated wild-ass guess. It all depends on humidity, temperature, and contents. But somewhere in the general area of about 12 weeks. When you get to a 10-liter barrel, you're looking at about 20 weeks. So give yourself ample opportunity, give yourself ample time in order to extract that delectable deliciousness that oak aging in a barrel, not to mention what it looks like, what it offers you. So if you like the contents of these videos, please subscribe below, share us with your friends, and give us a like. And always, always comment below. There are other methods in which to do this. And we appreciate all your comments. Happy distilling.